All right, so the new part that I want to make sure I go through with you guys is there's now there's always been, but there's something that we need to cover because we haven't done it in the past before, so it's kind of important to know how to do it now. But we've talked about having logs equations on, well, the logs were on one side of the equation and not on both sides. Sometimes they would throw it at you where the log will be on both sides of the equations. So that's what we're going to talk about today, of how to solve those. So when we have logs on both sides of the equation, it's very similar to what we've talked about when it came to just solving out regular log equations. But there's only one change, one small change here. So first off, let's go ahead and look at that. So here are steps. Steps to solve. So they're going to still be very, very similar. And again, just one change. So our first step is still condense. Condense it down to one log. Step two, it's still the step two is the change. That's where some new part's going to happen. What's going to happen is you're going to have logs on both sides of the equations at this point, and it's condensed down. So you have one log on each side. What you're going to do is cancel the logs that are the same. So again, condense it and then cancel it down. Let's simplify it down. So this is our change. The change from the original. That's what our change is happening. All right, step three, we're going to solve. And then step four, we're going to check. So condense, I can't spell the word check right. Sorry, guys. Check. See the size of that check. All right. So we're going to condense, cancel, solve, check. Condense, cancel, solve, check. So instead of condense, swoosh, solve, check, we're doing condense, cancel, solve, check. So that's the only difference that we're going to do here. All right. So let's go to example one and let's talk about these changes. All right. So here's our actual example. You have log 48 base 8 minus log w base 8 equals log 6 base 8. So we have logs on both sides of the equation. And we're like, we haven't seen this before. Oh my gosh, so what are we going to do? And I'm like, don't worry, we got this. Look at you, we got this. I can see your smarts showing. Your intelligence is showing right here. All right, so the first step is we're going to condense it down. And because we have a subtraction in the middle right here, because that's subtraction, that means that we are going to be dealing with our quotient rule, so division. So here, when we simplify this down, we're going to use our quotient rule. And again, we wrote that down in the last video as a review, so that when we got this part, we don't have to write it again. And again, we're using our quotient rule. And we condensed it down using the quotient rule. Yes. All right, so then we condensed it. Step two says that we're going to cancel out the logs because we should have one log on both sides now. So here we have log 48 over w base 8 equals log 6 base 8. Since they're the same logs, they cancel out. And that's kind of like the same rule that we use when it came to the e's. The e's will cancel each other out if we raise both sides to it. If we raise both sides to 8, the base would be 8, and then raise these to exponents, the 8s and the logs will cancel out. So kind of like going back to that example 3 on the original log equations notes. So here those cancel out. And so that would give us 48 over w equals 6. All right, now in class, somebody actually gave me a good idea of this. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to show both ways of doing it. So we're going to solve now. Solve this bad boy out. So that's what step 3 says, to solve. Solve for the variable. So here, this is w, so we can't just say x. But here, I'm going to rewrite this really quick. Hopefully everybody remembers how to solve. we're going to multiply both sides by W. And that way we can get everything, the W's to cancel out. So here, if we multiply both sides by W, W's canceled out here on the left side. We're left with 48 equals 6W. And then we just solve for W by dividing both sides by 6. We get 8 equals W. All right, so that was one way. Now, if you want to do it the other way, another way, you can. If you saw it this way, go for it. Please go for it. I love it when people find new ways of doing stuff because it might be easier that way. Somebody might it might make more sense to somebody that way. So here we can deal with this as if they're ratios. So this is the same thing as saying 6 over 1 because it's a whole number. So anything over any whole number is that number over 1. So you can cross multiply. So if you want to do it this way, you can cross multiply these. And again, I love different ways of doing stuff. So this, when the student said this, I was like, yes, ma'am. Yes, go for it. Yes. And that gives me 48 equals 6W. And then it brings me right back down to that step right there. So if that helps out for you guys, do that. And again, it's just one step that was different, but everything else flows the same way. So that step and that step were different. But great, that was amazing. All right, so we solve it and we got 8 for the answer. And then the last step is actually now checking it to make sure that 8 works in the original equation. And with it, you guys actually know how to do this in the calculator, the TI-84 calculator. Showed you guys that in the original notes. But I'm going to also show you now in Desmos of how to do this. Again, this is our the original equation. Always go back to the original. And we're going to use W equaling 8. And if we can get this to work out perfectly, then we're good. We're good. And I'm going to again show you 2 ways of doing this. All right, so we get that. So here, the first thing, without having to go to the calculator in Desmos, if you again remember, we're using the quotient rule. So we're going to bring this back here. And really, all we have to do is get this to be log 6 base 8, and it'll equal that log 6 base 8, and we're good. So here, if we do 48 divided by 8, that gives us a 6 there, base 8. And that matches this exactly. The other one is you can put this directly into the calculator in Desmos, put that directly in Desmos, and see if they both equal each other. So let's go into that really quick. All right, so put in the calculator real quick. We're going to do log here, 848 plus, minus log, let's do it this way, the functions part again. We have 8 here, and this is 8. And it gives us that decimal number, weird decimal number. But if we can put in the other side, the right side of the equation and get the same answer, then we're good, guys. Hey, look at that. That's the exact same number. So that means it checks out. So it either checks out this way, or you can put it in the calculator and get it that way too. So it still works. So Desmos, by hand, guys, we still got this. Or even the 84, we still got this.